Got it. All right. So, first league today, we're running through Esper Death Shadow. This is the exact same 75 that AspiringSpike recently ran through a list. Figured is a good place to start with. He's had success in the past with Esper Death Shadow, so I'm excited to see what the current iteration is looking like. Some of the noticeable differences from Death Shadow lists that we've seen in the past are it's a little less all in on like the turn 1, turn 2 aggressive creature start. As we see, we've got 4 copies of Ranger Captain of Eos to kind of act as Death Shadow's copy 5 through 8. We've got a single copy of Tasigur, so we can make use of the graveyard, all these 1-mana spells that we have access to. We've got 2 copies of Giver of Runes, solid turn 1 play, as well as a tutorable target with Ranger Captain. And then the draw to white, besides Ranger Captain, cards like Teferi Time Raveler make it really difficult for your opponent to interact profitably with you, not being able to tempo you out by killing your shadow end of turn or making you tap down, whatever. Removal Suite includes like a couple copies of Fatal Push, Path Exile, Blood Chief's Thirst. Why do we have 2 Blood Chief's Thirst in here? So we're going to have to figure out our replacement for that one. What do we want it replaced with? Where Thoughtseize, Giver, Path, 4 Visions, 4 Shadow. Inquisition, 4 Thoughtseize. I just like going blind here. What do we want that? I'll just go with like a 3rd Inquisition. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. For 3 copies of Drown in the Lock to continue on the removal plan. We've also got loops of things like Ranger Captain of Eos and Unearth, Snapcaster Unearth. Help keep that threat going consistently once we get to the end game, so we can continually loop Ranger Captains and Unearths and get more shadows. Really put the pressure on our opponent. On the sideboard, 2 copies of Kaya's Guile along with 2 copies of Kaya Orzhov's Usurper. Great for not only gaining life against like Burn, the aggressive decks, Prowess. Does a good job of taking out little 1-drop Prowess creatures, take out Stormwing Entity while gaining some life. We've got Celestial Purge for the red aggro matchups, as well as like Blood Moon decks. 2 copies of Nihil Spellbomb is our Grave Hate of choice. Grave decks have been a little bit on the decline, so we're hoping that'll be enough. Eliminate is another efficient removal spell, great for taking out little creatures, taking out opposing Teferis, Liliana of the Veils, things like that. 4th copy of Teferi, great for the control matchups. 2 Rejection, Disdainful Stroke for big mana, and Tron Amulet. Disdainful Stroke for Amulet, Rejections for Tron. Plague Engineer for the small creature aggro matchups, as well as the tribal decks like Spirits, and a copy of Burnt and Forge Tender for everything from Burn to Prowess to anything you could possibly want Burnt and Forge Tender for. The advantage of Forge Tender being a 1-drop, you can tutor it up with Ranger Captain of Eos and kind of always have access to it. The final notch, Luris, a single copy in the main board. So we have the ability to get back like Giver of Runes, Death Shadow, Mishra's Bauble, Snapcaster as the game goes on. Hopefully get a little bit of value that way. So other than that, we can go ahead and jump into our first league, see what happens. Modern League. Join. Alright. So, I have historically not been a huge fan of Esper Shadow. I think that there have been people who have had success with it, but for the most part, I found the mana base very, very inconsistent, and the white not being a like powerful enough splash compared to red. So we'll see how this one goes. Usually the Esper Shadow list that I've enjoyed more have either included Tide Hollow Sculler or the Stoneforge Mystic package. Because there's a lot of decks that just like can't beat a Batterskull. So if you're able to get that rolling, you can kind of help take the pressure off yourself. And everybody always asks, like, well, doesn't Stoneforge for Batterskull like directly compete with Shadow? And it's yes, but the matchups where you're winning with a Shadow, you don't need a Batterskull, and the matchups where you're winning with a Batterskull, you don't need a Shadow. Like, if I want to go aggressively on the Shadow plan against Tron, Batterskull's not great. So I'm probably not, like, Stone Forging on 2, tutoring up a Batterskull. Or if I'm playing against, like, Dredge, where Batterskull's basically unbeatable, Shadow by itself without a Rage isn't good. So Shadow with no TBR is like a night sky with no stars in it. That was poetic as hell. Witching Well, so likely like an Urza Thopter-Sword deck. Alright. So there's technically our Shadow. Opponent's Scryed, one top, one bottom. So we could bobble them and see what they're drawing into. That might inform our Inquisition a little bit. Drawing into Luris. So I could fetch up a Watery Grave and cast Inquisition. Got to like start working on my life total a little bit so that when I draw I guess I could just cast Serum Visions here and Luris or Inquisition Luris next turn. Nah, I think I'm probably gonna have the ability to Drown in the Loch the Luris. Alright, so I don't think we care about Pithing Needle at all. So what would they blind name with Pithing Needle? Fair enough. So I want to make sure I've got triple white on, or double white on turn 3 for Ranger Captain. Gonna Serum off this Hallowed Fountain in case I draw into a hand disruption spell. Do I want it to Fairy? Probably fine, right? So, Visions was a possibility there, but if my opponent's got like a Thopter Foundry, I need to get it out of hand on turn 2. I can't let it resolve. They're going to play out the Naked Lurrus. I don't know if I really like that play because you're just like opening up Lurrus to every removal spell under the sun. So I think I'm just going to Teferi bounce the Lurrus. And like I expect them to Galv Blast the Teferi. But if they do that, it puts their 3rd card in the yard, which means I just get to Drown in the Loch the Lurrus. Now I can like Drown in the Loch the Lurrus plus Tasigur. But it also depends if they hit the 4th land drop. Because if they didn't, which it appears they did not, so I could Marsh Flats, get basic. No. I want to get a shock. I'm thinking delve away for Tasigur, Ranger Captain, get a shadow, pass the turn, sack Ranger Captain on their upkeep so they can't Witching Well from the yard, they can't Galv Blast from hand. Go to my turn, like play Shadow, play another Ranger Captain, unearth the Ranger Captain the turn after that, and just like start locking them out of non-creature spells for the next like 3 turns. And I think I like that a lot, actually. So let's go Godless Shrine. Tasigur. Ranger Captain, get a shadow. Pass the turn. Sack Ranger Captain on your upkeep. Go. Now we can attack him with Tasigur. Play Shadow. Play another Ranger Captain. Get another Shadow. Play out our other Shadow. Pass turn. Sack Ranger Captain on their upkeep. It seems a little mean. Just like a tad bit mean. Alright, so it's not quite. It's lethal if we bounce the Luris. But I don't think we have to do that. I think I can tick up. Luris, get back Bobble. They have to chump with Luris this turn. All right. Yeah. That was something. All right. Sideboard against Thopter-Sword. Plague Engineer. We don't know that they're on Thopter-Sword, I guess, but we're kind of expecting it with artifact synergies. Plague Engineer stops the actual combo. Nihil Spellbomb to hit the yard. Kaya's Guile maybe. It's just like another yard nuke. I don't know if Kaya is worth it. I think these might just be a little slow. Alright, what am I less interested in? On the draw. Maybe like that. But I thought that first game went pretty well. Or about as well as we could expect. Oh, 4 lands, Serum Thoughtseize. A little land heavy. How okay is that? I can probably... I guess I can keep this, because if I draw into a shadow, like, I've got it online turn 2. And if I draw into, like, a Ranger Captain, I've got double white set up. So I don't think it's the worst in the world. Did notice we have 0 artifact or enchantment interaction in the 75. Outside of like Teferi Bounce. Alright, they scried 1 top, 1 bottom. I'm going to go ahead and start trying to set up my draws so I can find threats. Speak of the devils. Speak of all the devils. So let's get... Bottom Ranger Captain, top the second Shadow. The reason being, if I Ranger Captain on turn 3 and get another shadow, that's fine, but I'm not finding ways to lower my life to make these shadows any better. So I'd rather draw the second shadow, since that's what I'd be getting anyway, and then get rid of the Ranger Captain to start looking for like more fetch lands. So Goblin Engineer, usually a pretty good sign that it is in fact Thopter-Sword. Yep. So let's take Thopter Foundry, and then we're gonna have to path this Goblin Engineer. I think we might as well just go ahead and do it now. Say might as well. They got Metallic Rebuke. Like, we kind of need to do it now. I think they're supposed to Thoughtseize first and then cast the Witching Well, so they actually like know what they're trying to take. So do you want to counter this and let me have double shadow? You do. And they did scry 2 to the bottom off of the second Witching Well, which means they've got a blind draw coming up this next turn. That's kind of why I was saying Thoughtseize before the Witching Well, so they knew what they were trying to scry top or bottom with this. But they do just get to start sacking these Witching Wells and drawing a bunch, so that's a plus. Thoughtseize? Not a Thoughtseize. So, bobbling on their upkeep because they are a Thoughtseize deck, or we've seen Thoughtseize. Speak of the devil. All right. We are pretty happy with that. So I guess that means they did not find a Galvablast. Dreadbore, sure. Hey. Alright, opponent. This is what we got. Galv Blast doesn't do it unless they've got Galv Blast. Or they can't have 3 artifacts rolled up. They got Thoughtseize. This is like an Urza. Yep. Fairy Time Reveler. Alright, do you have a Metallic Rebuke? You do not. So let's bounce the Construct. Force the chump block with Urza. This Esper list better have Stoneforge in it. Does not. This is a AspiringSpike's exact 75 from like 4 days ago. Figured we would play through a league with it, and then we are going to play a Stoneforge Esper list. Stoneforge Esper list. I say list very optimistically. We don't have a list together yet, but we're gonna play a Stoneforge Esper league, and I've already got like Stoneforges rented and everything, so see how that goes. Were for 2. So you get Thopter Foundry. You can make 3 Thopters, gain 3 life. So my outs now are like Plague Engineer. And that might be it. I say Plague Engineer. I could Ranger Captain for a Giver of Runes. But without the 3rd white, it would be like Ranger Captain this turn, Giver of Runes next turn. I can Ranger Captain for a Shadow, play a Shadow, unearth my other Shadow. Yeah, Plague Engineer is absolutely my out. Gonna quad block 1 Shadow. I don't think this is a good block out of them. It's like you open yourself up to a lot of things that could potentially kill you here. Like Street Wraith, Dismember, uh, all become lethal. And, like, you're absolutely winning this game if you just untap and make a whole bunch of chump blockers. Have you ever tested Slip Through Space in the Death Shadow list? I've tested Distortion Strike, which is the Infect one. I have not tested Slip Through Space. But typically when those cards get suggested, it's kind of like we're really dropping off in power level to try to find a Battle Rage replacement. And it's often just overlooking like what makes Battle Rage good. Alright, just a simple man looking for a simple Plague Engineer off the top of the library. But yeah, like the strength for Battle Rage is twofold, and I think people a lot of times like look at one of the halves of it and not the other. Like I always hear, oh, Windcaller Aven, Slip Through Space, Distortion Strike, Raincore, all those cards is like non-red replacements for Battle Rage, and it's like, oh, well, you're able to get through your opponent's blocks, and it's like that's not really the ultimate strength of Battle Rage. Like the strength of the card is that you're cutting your clock in half. Like your 4-turn clock off a Shadow just became like a 3-turn or a 2-turn. That's the strength of Battle Rage, is just ending the game decisively. So when you replace it with Raincore, Slip Through Space, something like that, you're usually not cutting turns off the game. You're just kind of saying like, all right, I can trample over a blocker or two. And it's like, all right, cool. I realize that's still better than your opponent just getting to chump block you, but it's still not really good enough to warrant downgrading a lot. All right, we're just gonna scoop this one. Well, realistically, I guess if we're playing for time, our opponent does have to like kill us. I don't want to play for time, but we do have an out here. So I can't just say like, oh, we're dead on board. We can't just top deck the Plague Engineer and win. Berserk would be a good replacement. Berserk would be a much better replacement than the other options, I agree. Volcanius, this is a AspiringSpike's list from like 3 or 4 days ago. And since people wanted Esper, you know, cater to the masses. Tested Wind Color Haven or whatever it's called. It's just so weak compared to TBR. It is like TBR gets so much recognition because you can kill your opponent for more than like 13 life. Like, oh, your opponent's at 20 life, cool. Battle Rage this 10/10 Shadow. I can't Wind Color Haven a Shadow there, or Raincore a Shadow, or Slip Through Space a Shadow, or whatever. But I can Battle Rage. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we are still alive. Again, we've got a draw step here to find a Plague Engineer. Killed my opponent from 36, double TBR'd 2 11 Shadows. I killed a mill opponent recently from like 30 something by double TBRing a Goyf and a Shadow. Like, Plague Engineer. Plague Engineer. Plague Engineer. Not a Plague Engineer. We were going to play Fiery Red today, like Esper with Battle Rages, but we ended up playing a Ranger Captain list, and I don't think Battle Rage plays very well with Ranger Captain, because you really don't want to be getting like Sacred Foundry, but Ranger Captain needs a lot of white. So this is kind of another one of those turns where we should be dead, but our opponent just attacked with one Thopter at our Teferi instead of like more at us. Would fetching the Giver got you there, protect from colorless, and they can't block. I thought about getting the Giver, but at the time I couldn't get couldn't play Ranger Captain and get Giver on the same turn. So I would be giving them a turn to untap with Thopter Foundry, the sword, and all of their mana, which once that's online, like Giver of Runes and a Shadow just can't keep up with Thopter Foundry. Because they're gaining 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 life a turn with this Thopter Foundry. So I would have to get Giver, play Giver the next turn. They'd gain 10, then chump like 3, so gain 7. And then have Giver activate the next turn after they gained 17 life. So it was just going to be way too slow. .3A can concede at any time. So again, if my opponent had made like a bigger attack at me last turn, I would absolutely concede here. But they attacked one Thopter at Teferi, and that was it. And if I just top deck a Plague Engineer, we win on the spot. So now that they are attacking everything at us, we will concede. You're right. We can instant speed Thoughtseize. Like, I don't want to concede while we had outs on the board. On the plays or anything I'm swapping out? Not really. Everything kind of seemed correct there. Maybe Unearth is a little... eh. Alright. I'm going to attempt to say the name that just followed. I've got two options. I want to know if one of them is right and when they're both wrong, what the actual pronunciation is. I've got Pasquale Arico. And I've got Pascal Lyrico. If either of those is correct, I will be shocked and amazed, but I'm pretty sure they're both horrible. Either way, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having a fantastic Thursday, morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever you're at in the world. Appreciate you coming by and hanging out. Pretty easy ship, no lands. Guess we're keeping this. Bottom Luris. Rico Pasqualia is the super secret third option. It's always the third option. Gotta keep up with these things. Alright. Serum, because I want to draw my second land on turn 2. What is the drawback to playing 4-color Shadow at the moment to get stub? Land shenanigans seem to be at a low. There's not really a huge drawback. It's just that those stubborn denials do have to come at a price somewhere. And typically that price is coming in place of just more threats. And there's a lot of shadow mirrors at the moment where you just want to have more action. Hey, did I pronounce it at all close to right? Or was I just so far off that it's not even worth mentioning? Alright. How do they scry here? Top. That's terrifying. So it could be lands. Probably is lands. So we'll just take Thopter Foundry, play out our shadow, say go. I'd rather Grixis over 4-color, play some Drowner Sling. I've been liking our Grixis list lately, 4 lightning bolts. It's been solid. Gonna Dreadbore me? Or is this Pentad Prism? Yeah. Fetch land. Fetch land. One time deck. So close. If we could have fetched there and bounced Pentad Prism, that would have been huge. So with Plague Engineer, we've got Thopter-Sword answered. Fetch land. Not a fetch land, but we'll take it. What am I bouncing? I just like bouncing Urza. Bouncing Pentad Prism. Like, the mana is not an issue with Urza down. So I guess we'll just bounce the Construct. Second Sword of the Meek, sure. So we know Urza, second Urza, sword in hand. Alright. You know, easy. Oh, good draws. I'm assuming opponent decided that they didn't have enough time to win the match. Like game 2, they basically took a lot of extra time that I don't know if they needed to. We take those, I guess. We do take those. All right. It's not... I guess we keep this. It's not the most thrilling hand in the world, right? Looks like Inverter. So let's get Godless Shrine. Are we getting Watergrave here? No. Godless Shrine. We want to play this Giver on turn 1. Might have had to go to lunch. I mean, could have. Who are we to judge? We're nobodies. So let's see. Sweet Flooded Strands. Serum Visions isn't bad. Thoughtseize off the top. I like both of these. I guess we need to bobble into the fetch land. That way we can play like Bobble Luris next turn. Or Teferi, one of the two. Is this just Esper control? Throw a River of Tears at you and you just assume Inverter. Alright, so if it's Esper control, they can Archmage's Charm here. They can Esper Charm. What's more important to get down? So if it's between Luris and Teferi, what am I more okay with getting countered? Probably Luris, Because Teferi makes them play all on their turn. Yep. Playing it pre-combat because if they let it resolve, I get to use Giver to protect it. If they don't let it resolve, then I just attack with the Giver. Alright. Opponent is mana screwed. So let's go cast Shadow. If they counter this, I get to resolve Teferi. If they don't counter this, I'm probably going like Snap Serum. Opponent is very much contemplating. I should have played this Snapcaster off of Plains Hallowed Fountain. So if they countered it, I could play Tasigur. Sack a dude, exile my yard. I think I'm just going to sack the Shadow, honestly. All right, what do we got? It's a good draw. Esper Mirror. Modern's great. Modern's stressful. All right, so take 2. Fire off an Inquisition. See what opponent is working with over there. So this is pretty great, right? We get to like... Yeah. We get to Teferi, bounce our own Giver, replay it. So if that's the case, I'm just going to get rid of Snapcaster. My Giver. You stay on your side of the board. That's what we would call a sweet turn. Alright, would you like to Esper Charm yourself to draw lands? No, you got Cryptic Command. Fatal Push, my Giver. Opponent, that's so very rude. Assume this is Esper Charm. Opponent knows the secret arts. Opponent has studied the old ways that make your opponent draw too. Dastardly. Alright. So, is this... I don't know why I always thought... I don't know why I always thought this was the next next sorcery spell you could cast at instant speed. So if they like kill Snapcaster here, I could unearth Snapcaster, snap unearth, unearth Giver, or I could unearth Snapcaster, snap unearth, or snap Serum, whatever. Do I just want to get back this Giver? Or is that like too small brained? I guess I want to keep Unearth, because if I hit like Ranger Captain, game's like over. We'll see. Like, opponent can't really Cryptic bounce Snapcaster, and they can't really like Cryptic bounce to Fairy. These are things that just like don't do much for them. Esper Charm to draw 2. You got it. Please Fatal Push my Snapcaster. We're doing it. We're doing it. Alright. Yeah, so it's until your next turn, so I can do it on their end step. Cast on Snapcaster. And am I just getting back Giver here? Or do I want to save the Unearth in the yard? I guess I'm just Serum Visioning. Because if I draw into Ranger Captain, like I said, that would be pretty fantastic. Or I'll just take double Drown in the Lock. Sure. What else is in the graveyard? It was either Inquisition them, but I know they've got Cryptic Command, Unearth, but the only target is Giver of Runes, or Serum Visions like we did. Like, I think this double Drown plan is going to work. That one. Think I took the right line? Yes. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty okay one. Ranger Captain? The Ranger Captain. Oh, do we get to do the old draw step Thoughtseize? Never been so happy in my life. So, upkeep, draw, Thoughtseize you. We don't care about Spell Snare. think we're just going to take Esper Charm. They don't have a land, so they can't, like, Esper Charm. Yeah, we're just going to take Esper Charm. Walson 2, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having a fantastic Thursday morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever you're at in the world. Appreciate you coming by and hanging out with us. Am I countering this? Like, it's kind of fine, right? They're bouncing Teferi, drawing. They can't counter Teferi on the way back down unless they draw something that I can counter with Drown. Oh, you're right. You're right. Good line. So yeah, what Jax is suggesting here is counter the Cryptic Command. Then I can attack with Snapcaster, put them down to 1, bounce to Snapcaster with Teferi, and then have access to Snap Drown on their next turn. And if they don't do anything, I just play a Snapcaster into turn and attack for lethal. Really good line. Alright. So I think Kaya is good here. Get to, like, nuke off Snapcaster targets. Spell Bomb's not bad. Pushes aren't great. Path isn't great. Bloodchief's Thirst. Probably go down and give her. I think that's fine. Disdainful Stroke is kind of like the only other option. Like, Drown gets a little bit worse with Spellbomb and Kaya. So maybe I want to trim on a Drown. No. This is fine. Doris Big Brain. Jax's Big Brain. I just sat here and did what he told me to do. Alright. So we've got lands, which is kind of like our biggest thing in this matchup. We just want to get to our third land on curve, right? So we can start, like, playing all of our super fantastic, never seen before in Modern Planeswalkers. What do we got? Castle Ventress. So I would like to see a Thoughtseize here. It's not a Thoughtseize. Also not Thoughtseizes. So let's go Delta. So I can get Hallowed Fountain off of this and be able to Drown in the Lock if need be. But I think I am going to flash in a Naked Snapcaster here. And start, like, putting some pressure on them to do something. Spell Snare, sure. Yep. So that's Shocking Godless Shrine, but it's not Cryptic command mana. So it could mean Snapcaster Mana Leak. So if that's the case... do I want to just counter this? I kind of do. Like, it's not the greatest counter in the world, but, like, I've got board presence at the moment. Sure. It's a pretty annoying one. Yeah, I agree on using Drown while I can. I think I've got like one turn to get this Teferi off the board. And if I'm not able to, game's probably over. Alright, so they're drawing dead off of the... or drawing dead for turn. What does fetch and shock there mean? Alright, what do we got? So let's go ahead and nuke their yard and draw. So if their last card's like Logic Knot, they can't do anything. Archmage's Charm, okay. Jab, we're currently 1-0. Yeah, we beat Grixis Thopter-Sword round 1. The old main phase Vantress Scry, eh? Alright, so I can go for Kaya. I know he can Teferi bounce or tuck Kaya. Should be unfortunate. But maybe if I can resolve Tasigur next turn, then I can put enough pressure so that he can't just like freely tuck Kaya without potentially losing to Fairy. Alright, so let's cast Tasigur. Because if he counters Tasigur, I want to exile his counterspell with Kaya. Could be Cryptic, counter bounce Kaya. Nope. Maybe opponent hasn't actually read Kaya. Maybe he knows it exiles 1-drops and you tick up to exile cards, but doesn't know the ult. Alright. Never mind. Opponent's got mono Teferis. So, Disdainful Stroke looks a lot better here. Anything else? Blood Chief's Thirst is probably okay. What do I not want? There's like points in that game where we were on the verge of running them out of resources and just like couldn't quite get over the top. Alright. Just need to see third land by turn 3. So let's start with a Thoughtseize. All right. Got 3 Thoughtseizes for currently 3 big payoffs. We need third land off the top. Some kind of bad. I think if we hit this third land right now, we've got a decent chance. I think if we miss the third land, we're probably not getting there. I don't think are going to have much of a chance here, unfortunately. Double Archmage's Charm, you say? Like that third land, we could have Ranger captained and potentially stopped one of these planeswalkers. We could have Teferied, which was probably the better play, just to like start trying to Ranger captain on their upkeep. Alright, so Mystic Gate's down. So I think we just have to jam Teferi. See if it sticks. Yep. If we'd kept a one-lander and not seen the third, it wouldn't be frustrating, but keeping a two-lander and not seeing it, I guess we didn't have any kind of, like, card draw manipulation, anything. Trying to bait with the shadow here. Nope. Mystical Dispute. Alright. Opponent's down to one card. If it's a dud and we can hit like Ranger Captain off the top, maybe. Them not casting anything there is pretty terrifying. They didn't cast anything. They didn't play a land. A death match between two mediocre Esper decks. This is peak modern. You're not wrong. Except their Esper deck just recently won a challenge. Our Esper deck is like an off variation of Shadow that people play every now and then and never really works out. Use Ranger Captain's ability. Yeah. Alright, I'm going to sack Ranger Captain on their upkeep. I've seen Verdict. I've seen the big Planeswalkers. What do we think of Mardu right now? I think it's in kind of the same limbo as every other like non-traditional Shadow deck. It's just like not a reason to go in the color combinations that it's in. Like, when Esper and Mardu and, like, Abzan come up in color combination options for Shadow, I always ask the question, like, what's the reason to go into that color combination? And there's never a good answer for it. Alright. Main reason is usually the fetch lands are cheaper. I mean, I guess that is a reason. But what usually comes up is like, oh, you play Esper to get access to Teferi. And it's like, alright, well, what problems is Teferi solving for us that we don't have other options and other color combinations? Like, oh, Teferi's good against Path to Exile decks. Sure. Is the rest of the deck doing anything to help out against Path to Exile decks? Or are we just saying, like, Teferi because Teferi? Does it mean, like, yeah, this is better against Path to Exile, but we're less threat dense and we have less consistency with getting our threats online, since 4 of them are technically 3 CMC. So, like, we're making ourselves worse against Path to make ourselves better against Path. Alright. Or like, oh, we go Abzan because we want access to Ferals and Lingering Souls. It's like, okay, so our deck that's really bad against spot removal is going all in on something that's really bad against spot removal. Doesn't seem like a really good combination to me. Like, take the color combinations that are successful. You go Grixis because you get the blue-black shell of, like, Shadow, Hand Disruption, Gurmag Angler, and the supporting cards like Stubborn Denial, Thought Scour, Snapcaster, and then you're just splashing red for Battle Rage for the clock. And then because you're already in the Esper color combination, you get access to things like Kolaghan's Command, Kolaghan's Command, Kozilek's Return, all that stuff. This is just, like, horrible if I don't see lands off the top, so I think I gotta ship it. This is better. You go, like, Jund because you want access to, again, the Shadow, Hand Disruption, opener with, like, Tarmogoyf as a secondary threat because it's the easiest to splash, like, big creature that you can add to the deck. And then you finish it off with the red, which is still, like, Battle Rage as a minor splash to improve your clock. So, what's the reason to go Esper? So I was kind of hoping Inquisition to stop their turn 1 play. Yeah, Ranger Captain is a lot better in Heliod. But I mean, Ranger Captain's kind of better in like any variation that's not just trying to force it on turn 3. Like, we're taking turn 3 off to play a Ranger Captain, which is really subpar. Inviera? Somebody tell me pronunciation, please. 84, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having a fantastic, was it Thursday morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever you're at in the world. Appreciate you coming by and hanging out. Did we get there in the Esper mirror? We did not. We really needed to see third land on turn 3, and that didn't work out quite the way we wanted it to, and so we died. I think I'm going to get a Giver of Runes here and just play Giver Shadow. Fight fire with metaphorical fire. Fight fire design with metaphorical fire design. So opponent's got one unknown card in hand. Drown in the lock, you say. We'll bottom the Thoughtseize and top the Marsh Flats. And we'll just chug in with both of our gentlemen. Yeah, Kevin, I don't know if you noticed, but our opponent had a lot of counter spells and kill spells. Like, something about that seemed like a bad matchup. Oh, I just got word from our artist that the new emote might be ready. So I'm going to go take a look and see. It is in fact ready. Let's see. I'll have to decide if I'm going to show it off today or wait till later. Yeah, somehow I got talked into playing Esper Shadow yesterday. So we decided to try out AspiringSpike's List. We're currently 1-1. We beat Grixis, Thopter-Sword round 1. And we lost to Esper Control round 2. Wasteland Strangler. We do not have any cards in exile at the moment. So I'm okay with that. Make sure I'm not forgetting anything on this. Yeah, so we don't have anything in exile. So that's fine. Gotta double check like 7 times to be sure. I don't want to get got by a Wasteland Strangler. Alright. So I think I just kill the Giver. Teferian Shadow, I'm in. That seems to be the consensus opinion. Give your Wasteland Strangler Pro Black, sure. Am I okay trading a Ranger Captain for a Wasteland Strangler? Probably not. I don't have much going on with my clock right now. I think I'd rather just save it. I do have to be careful of like Reality Smasher off the top. Do want a Snapcaster Mage. So like, yeah, we're just attacking him with Shadow. Waste seems greedy in their mana base. Maybe a little bit. Like, I've seen worse. Big bucks, no smashers. Alright. Opponent has seen enough of our shenanigans and decides to move to game 2. Kaya's really good here. Hits Aether Vial, hits Giver of Runes. Eliminates pretty good. Worse against the Eldrazi half. I don't think I want the 4th Teferi. Plague Engineer. We didn't see Thalia. We didn't see Flicker Wisp. So we'll save that as like a maybe for game 3. Kaya's Guile could be okay, but probably not. Am I expecting Rest in Peace? It's not just for Rest in Peace. It's also because, or Boarding Out Unearth isn't just for Rest in Peace. It's also because pretty much all of their removals exile based. But if I am expecting Rest in Peace, maybe like that's better. Hand's fine. It's not particularly thrilling, but it doesn't have any just like glaring gaps. Them not having turn 1 Aether Vial is really nice. Displacer, Thought Knot, get in. Guess I'm just taking Displacer here. It's like their turn 2 play. It gives them the most most flexibility at like stopping everything I'm doing. They don't currently have double white for Flicker Wisp or Gideon. Alright, so they Thought Knot me. This has been like the running theme of Esper is if you don't hit the third land on turn 3, your deck like just doesn't do anything. I guess they could Ghost Quarter themselves for the second white. Ghost Quartering themselves could potentially turn on Drown in the Lock. So if I'm in opponent's shoes, to Fairy, sure. Alright, opponent, just hit me in the face one time. It'll be fine. So, Caves. Second Thought Knot. That one's a little more rough for us. It's really hoping we'd be able to get down this shadow and hold up Drown. Or they let us keep the shadow. Interesting choice. And the attack. Opponent's a madman. This is on my draw step. So I'll get... If I'm playing Shadow, holding up Drown, I'll get Plains... No. I need to get Swamp. Because I need to play Shadow, hold up Drown, and be able to get second white source. So like second Godless Shrine, and then like basic Plains to be able to Ranger Captain for another Shadow next turn. Hope you play Orzhov Charm. It was in like one of the original iterations of the deck, but it's not in the current one, unfortunately. Gideon, ally of Zendikar. So. We can take down Gideon next turn. But to do that, we have to kill the knight now. Give you protection from colorless. Take down Gideon. play Ranger Captain and go get another Shadow and play it. Alright, so if they are not going to Flicker Wisp, I guess they could here. But Flicker Wisp, what? They can Flicker Wisp a Shadow and attack. That means they're dead to a removal spell off the top. They could Flicker Wisp a Thought Knot. That doesn't seem great. They could Flicker Wisp Ranger Captain, but that seems even less so. And they wouldn't have attacks. So if they're going to Flicker Wisp, it has to either be Thought Knot or a Shadow. I don't think the Flicker Wisp but Thought Knot plan sounds very good at all. Not sure how good the Aether Vial plan sounded either. Alright, so we're going to attack, Shadow, Shadow. Yep. Okay. 2-0 over black-white Eldrazi taxes. Do I have an Esper Shadow? I do. We played Esper Control. We lost that one. Blue Black X. Blue Black X. Thopter-Sword. Won that one. White X. Eldrazi. What do I have Eldrazi and taxes under? Eldrazi and taxes, Eldrazi and taxes. I think it's just under White X taxes. I think that's like taxes and Eldrazi and taxes. Oh no. Never mind. So just Eldrazi taxes. Gotta come up with a color combination for the top of the Esper board. Join the match, please. Would love to play first. And the opening hand looks like what? Looks bad. Looks really bad. Doesn't really look better, but I think I have to keep it. Well, I don't know how this is going to go. If opponent top decks a Bogle, we're just dead on board. Like, not even close. We need to top deck a land. It's a race to doing nothing. Yeah, can't keep drown. As much as I want it, because it's like interaction for their first Bogle. Who suggested this deck? Like, we just need to find lands before they find a Bogle. This is, like, painful, right? It's not just me. Okay. Okay. Doing something. Oh, they've got Mana Tithe. I think that means I can't make a play until I draw a fourth land. Because if I play a Shadow here and they play a Bogle and I've got a Drowning Lock and they Mana Tithe, it's just game over on the spot. Okay. Now I can do something. What is the something I'm doing? Is this Teferi? Is it Ranger Captain? I think it's Teferi tick up Serum on their turn. Well, the problem with Shadow Pass with Drown is they've got Luris Spirit Dancer, and I can't drown either one of those. So this is kind of like, all right, you've got a turn to draw a Bogle. If you go for Luris Spirit Dancer, I can untap, push the Spirit Dancer past the Luris. And, like, now I don't have to worry about Mana Tithe. Put Bobble on top in case I draw a Luris. Alright, so now we've got push you. Play Shadow. Play Bobble. And now we've got Path plus Drown. And they can't Mana Tithe. So Pathway we don't care about. So on their We're on their draw step. Let them draw the pathway, path the Lurrus, and now we've got Drown in the Loch, and they can't interact with it. We know their draw for turn was dead. They've got to redraw off of this Horizon Canopy. Alright, so that can get Dryad Arbor. That we can Drown in the Loch. Or Fatal Push. So let's swing for 3. Play Giver. Pass. Alright. So now if they go get Dryad Arbor, we get to Fatal Push. If they get... They don't get Dryad Arbor. Are they not running Dryad Arbor or... what? Because I'm pretty sure if you're running Dryad Arbor, you get Dryad Arbor there. Slippery Bogle is deceased. And opponent scoops. Easy clap over Bogles. Not easy clap over Bogles. Kaya's Guile seems nuts here. Okay, let's think. Kaya does nothing, since all their 1-drops are shrouded or hexproofed up. Spellbomb does nothing. Teferi bounces an enchantment. That's about the extent. Eliminate does nothing. Well, I guess Eliminate kills Lurrus and it kills Core Spirit Dancer. Purge, nothing. Forge Cinder, no. Alright, cards in our main that are terrible. Fairy's not the greatest. Ranger Captain plus Unearth could be pretty good if we're able to get that loop going. So it just stops them from playing all their enchantments. Maybe like Snapcaster. It's like, how much do I want to hedge on Leyline? Maybe like a Teferi's better than a Leyline because I can bounce a Leyline later. Oh wait, Kaya can hit all the enchantments. That's right. Let's go something like this. Kind of bank on Kaya's Guile. Okay. And no Leyline. Whew. You still my beating heart. Bogle on 1. You got it. Third land for Guile is great. So let's take a peek. They didn't reveal Lurrus, which means they more than likely boarded in ley lines. What is Gaddock Teague doing here? Why'd you board that in? I didn't show, like, anything more than 3 CMC or any X spells, right? Oh, hedge versus EE. I guess that makes sense. So I'm just going to take creatures here. Make this Guile better, especially if we can, like, force them to block with Teague at some point. My buddy and I have been working on Esper Shadow List. Went 4-1 with it last night. It was really sweet. Do you have a list for it? Alright. This is really good. Them strapping up this Bogle. This means we get to Thoughtseize Teague, play Giver, and now we've got like a free and clear Kaya's Guile next turn. So take Teague. I guess we can just play the Shadow. Shadow's fine. Gets in a bigger attack next turn. And they used their fetch. So we don't have to worry about them fetching up a Dryad Arbor here. Yep. Alright, so I could pass the turn. My thought here is if I pass the turn and they draw a fetch land and they play a fetch and attack, I don't get a priority opportunity before they can go get Dryad Arbor. So yeah, I think it is just main phase. Sack a dude. You're just going to make a 1-1. I like that. Sack a dude, we're going to make a 1-1. Yep. And then depending on what they do this turn, Glade cover and a suit for a Glade cover. Pretty good. Pretty good. You're late. Late to the party. Alright. So, worst case scenario would be them drawing, what's it called? Daybreak Coronet. So I think this is just Ranger Captain, go get a Shadow, pass the turn, sack Ranger Captain on their upkeep. Or it's play Ranger Captain and opponent concedes. One of the two. Could be either one. All right, what do we got for round number 5? Let's see. Nope, nope, go away. Anybody saw it? It's our new emote. Hopefully you didn't. Somebody's going to go back and clip that and, like, see what the emote is. If anybody can guess what it was without going back and clipping it, I'll be impressed. Alright, opponent has kept their 7. I think I'm just going to drop down Giver of Runes here. Say go. It's not Street Wraith. That was on... It's one of the option ones for the future. If we, for some reason, get enough subs to the channel. Plains Thraben Inspector. If this is mono white martyr proc, I'm gonna cry. Like, actual cry. Like, I'll tell you some of the ones that it's not. Because either they weren't looking right or the art's a little convoluted. Like, it's not Street Wraith. It's not Tarmogoyf. It's not Stubborn Denial. It's not Fatal Push. Like, we wanted to keep cards where, like, one character was the main focus of the card. What do they get? Batterskull? Of course it did. It's not Snapcaster either. Luris of the Dream Den. I don't mind Luris, so I can go ahead and push this into turn. Untap, draw Luris plus something. So let's get Hallowed Fountain, play Swamp, play Luris, and get Bobble back. Now this is pod racing. Don't know if my list posted the first time. I don't. Did it? It did. I just, like, didn't see the notification for it. All right. So what do we got? 4 Shadow, 2 Jace, 3 Tide Hollow, 2 Monastery Mentor. That's pretty sexy. 4 Push, 2 Inquisition, 2 Path, 2 Stub, 2 Scour, 4 Thoughtseize, 2 Unearth, 2 Drown, 1 Dismember, 19 lands. I like it. Like I said, I like Tide Hollow versions better. Especially like Tide Hollow plus Luris. I think it looks like a solid list. White without Skyclave Apparition in the year of our Lord 2021. Deck and Stone, my Giver of Runes. Are they just playing like standard blue-white with Deck and Stone? Or with Stoneforge Mystic? If they are, that's awesome. Alright, so let's get Serum Visions here. Ranger Captain's great. So we can Thoughtseize, possibly take Batterskull. Or Jace the Mind Sculptor. I appreciate the cut of your jib, opponent. Alright, so I really want to draw this Ranger Captain on their turn. So yeah, they're probably going to fetch whatever I see away. And that's fine. But I want to draw Ranger Captain on their turn so I can fetch up a Watery Grave and crack this clue. Oh, I hope you fetch this away. Deal. Deal. No stream sniping confirmed. But yeah, this just lets me use, like, all of my mana efficiently. And that's kind of like what Shadow wants to do, right? Is use all of our mana when we can use our mana. Alright. So let's get Watery Grave, so we open up double blue if necessary. Crack our clue. Now we've got options. Am I snap seizing Battle Rage or snap seizing Batterskull? Probably. Like snap seize Skull, play Giver. And I can like scry with this Bobble and fetch land if I need to. Yeah, we're definitely snap seizing this Batterskull. Do they have a counter spell? They have a mana leak? Alright. So now we're on the adjust plan. So let's Ranger Captain for a Shadow. See what they're drawing. Spell Pierce. We'll pass turn. Upkeep. Ranger Captain them. So that they can't cast Batterskull. $18 lands for 3-drop dot deck. I didn't make the mana base. I probably would have had infinitely fewer 3-drops in the deck. Alright, so I can replace Snapcaster with Luris and Thoughtseize, which is probably best line. Alright, so blue-white Stoneblade with Thraben Inspectors and Declaration and Stone and yeah. Alright, Teferi's great. know what else is great. Kaya, probably. So Kaya's just like, I play this out on turn 3, and I take it up for a while, and eventually maybe ultimate and kill you. Where's the Esper Charms? What a rip. We played against Esper Control like round 2 or 3. It's our only loss so far this league, was just straight Esper Control. Maybe I don't want both Kayas. What am I supposed to board out in this deck? Like, I'm supposed to... Maybe Kaya's not good enough. I don't know. If you're following Otterhouse on Twitter, you need to see the Luris Traverse deck. I don't think I'm following them on Twitter, but I could certainly go check it out. Not Twitch, Twitter. This hand's pretty bad. This hand is pretty worse. So, Otterhouse. This hand is not great, but keepable. Oh, this is the like 501 or yeah, one of list that they posted earlier. I did see this. Let me move it over here for everybody to see. So this is like a 5-0 list from what, yesterday? What's today? The 18th, so no, 5-0 list from a few hours ago. I did see this one. It's like a traverse list with just funky one-ofs. Alright. Let's get Watery Grave, because if we draw Thoughtseize, we want to be casting it next turn. Not that one. That one. I'll top Ace Serum Visions. Oh, y'all are going to go draft Time Spiral Remastered? I hate all of y'all. That sounds fantastic. The old rest in peace, eh? Alright. So we'll go get Godless Shrine. Or no, I want to get Hallowed Fountain here, because I want to cast Serum Visions, and if I draw another Serum or like a Thoughtseize, I want to be able to cast it. Oh, so good at these. Go away, Snapcasters. We don't want you anymore. How did Spike do with this list? Let's see. I can give you an answer in about 17 seconds. Hope somebody's counting down the seconds. Looks like 3 and 2. How many seconds was that? How close was I? 25. I don't know if I believe that, but I got to. Got to believe. I guess it makes sense that they bring in Rest in Peace since we just like lurised them out game 1. Spell Queller. The quelliest of boys. See, I have a deck, but if you had a Damping Sphere or Auriok Champion I could borrow, that would be sick. Spheres I have, never owned an Auriok Champion in my life. Same. So much same. Blast Zone. And why are you out here with a Blast Zone? And a Deccan Zone. Alright. Teferi. Ha 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 ha. Bounce that one. Who made this card legal to play? I missed a follow. Book Fair, thank you so much for the follow. Like 12 minutes ago. Sorry. Hope you're having a fantastic Thursday morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever you're at in the world. Appreciate you for coming by and hanging out with us. Checking out some sweet Death Shadow action. Am I just taking Path? I think I am. Yeah. So I know they got a Deccan Stone coming off the top. If they want to crack Blast Zone here, that's fine. Carry on. They're approximately 1 stimulus check right now. That's an oddly specific price point. I guess this is just... Is it Ranger Captain for a Shadow? Probably. I'm just like not feel great about it. Am I sacking Ranger Captain? So it would stop Deccan Stone. They still get to Queller to kill the Teferi. which means I'm trading Ranger Captain for 6 points of damage. That's probably fine. Kill Teferi, sure. So Deck and Stone does get rid of like all copies. Get a clue. I'm not letting them take my second shadow. No, no, no. Not in this house. I see. So this is how we're gonna do this. Carry on, opponent. So they do have an active Arden Veil now. I can't Deck and Stone on my turn still. Deal. All right, so let's go. Giver. Shadow. Snapcaster. Go. Then make a token off Arden Veil. And all I'm hoping to do is probably protection this shadow and swinging. Or not. Okay. Things occurred. All right, so what do we think about that one? Initial thoughts were that the mana base was going to be clunky, which it turns out getting the colors online wasn't too bad, but hitting 3 lands consistently for like the 8 3-drops in the main, plus the other 6 3-drops in the sideboard, was really awkward. So I don't know if that's the best combination going forward. the list definitely had some cool plays to it. Like we saw, we got to lock out, what was it? We could have locked out Bogles if they had not scooped. We did get to lock out someone by going like Ranger Captain, get a Shadow, sack Captain, next turn, unearth Ranger Captain, get a Shadow, play 2 Shadows. That was Thopter-Sword we got to lock out. By just like 3 or 4 consecutive turns, Ranger Captain on their turn. Ranger Captaining. Well, they had like a Luris out and a Witching Well in the yard. Just like couldn't cast it. They couldn't cast a Galv Blast to kill anything on our side. Couldn't cast a Thopter Foundry. Like it was mint. But yeah, with this particular list going forward, I would definitely trim back on the 3 drops. It's just like really, really heavy in that slot, or go to more lands, make it like Esper mid-range with just Shadow as like a Ranger Captain target. But overall, not the worst. Like, it was interesting and unique, so I can't complain too much. Unearth seemed a little underwhelming. It's good with like exactly Ranger Captain. I think we had one turn where they, against Esper, where they killed our Snapcaster, and we got to like unearth on their instep, get Snapcaster, Serum Visions, and that was pretty cool. But it seems like a lot of meme lines and not a lot of like good in modern lines. Like, oh yeah, if things line up exactly this way, this line's really cool. If they line up anywhere differently, this line's kind of subpar. So that's kind of my initial take.